Welcome to Jeff Novick's Fast Food.
I thought you don't eat fast food.
Oh, this is different. This is not your typical fast food. This is not going to be burgers, french fries, and apple pies. This is going to be very healthy food, cooked inexpensively, simply, and fast. This is my version of fast food, and you're going to love it. So today with me are my two cooking assistants, Nina and Miranda Nelson. And before we start cooking, what I want to do is go through my favorite 10 packaged foods that are the basis of my fast food recipes. So while I do that, why don't you two go boil some water or something right now.
Okay.
The basis of these recipes are these 10 packaged products, which make all these recipes very simple and easy. And all these products are available at your regular supermarket. So let's run through them. The first product and the key are frozen vegetables. And as you can see here, I have several varieties. And I buy mixes. We're going to use this soup mix. We have a pepper stir fry, and I'll be using these in some different dishes. I also have a mixed vegetable, which we'll be using quite often. And I also have some individuals, like here I have chopped collards. I also have chopped kale. I have broccoli, cauliflower. So frozen vegetables are excellent. They're inexpensive, they're ready to use, there's no preparation, and there's no waste. So you get your money's worth with these. Second on the list is frozen fruits. And we'll be using these in a few recipes. And again, I have some varieties. Here is a mixed berry, which is excellent. I really love this one because of frozen berries, I can keep berries around all year round and have them in my recipes. And once they thaw out, they taste virtually as good as fresh. And here I have dark sweet cherries. Cherries are one of my favorite, but as we all know, cherries aren't available all year round. But by buying frozen ones, and both of these are no sugar added, I can have fresh sweet cherries year round. So we got frozen vegetables and we got frozen fruits. Next are what I call intact whole grains. And these are items like brown rice. And here's brown rice. And this is basmati rice. And it's whole grain brown rice. Basmati is a flavor variety of brown rice, sometimes called popcorn rice, because when you cook it, it kind of smells like popcorn's cooking. Here's another form of brown rice. This is just regular brown rice I got at the local supermarket. And as you can see, this one's organic, which is also regularly available. This is quinoa. We'll be using quinoa in a recipe or two today. And one of the reasons why I love quinoa is this grain cooks in 10 minutes. See, one of the problems many of us know in cooking healthy food like brown rice is if you use real brown rice like this, it takes about 40 minutes to cook. So that takes time. My goal is to get all my recipes done, each recipe in about 10 minutes. So that's why I like using quinoa, because this will cook in about 10 minutes. In addition, another whole grain I have is buckwheat. And buckwheat's a great tasting grain, and this one also cooks in 10 minutes. So that's why I like to keep this one around. And you could get it, they cut the grain. This is a medium cut, they have a rough cut, and they have a fine cut. I use either the medium or the rough cut. So those are what I call intact whole grains. One other that's very common and regularly available is oats. And there are many varieties of oats. I buy just the regular Quaker quick oats or the regular oats. Here I have the old-fashioned. These cook in less than 5 minutes, so they're great to keep around. They make a great breakfast. We're going to see a great recipe with these. And also sitting right next to them on the shelf, if you so desire, you can even get them organically now, right in the regular grocery store. So another version of an intact whole grain. And the last one I have here is wheatina, which is also regularly available. And this is just pure whole wheat. And another good thing about this is it cooks in under 10 minutes. So I have several varieties of whole grains that we can keep around and cook them in under 10 minutes. Now, as I mentioned with the brown rice, it cooks in 40 minutes. So one of my favorite products, which is number 4 on the list, is Success Brown Rice. This is a quick cooking brown rice, and it's a unique product because unlike many instant brown rices where you have to measure rice and water to get it right, these come in boil in the bags and they're pre-measured. So the rice has already been pre-steamed and then dried in the bag. So all you have to do to cook this is take the bag out and drop it in a pan of boiling water. So if you can boil water, you can have great whole grain brown rice in 10 minutes. So next on my list is whole grain pastas. And here I have a whole wheat pasta, 100% whole wheat, only ingredient. This is penne. And I got this at the regular grocery store too. And they have many varieties if you like elbows or spirals or spaghetti or fettuccine. I personally like penne, so that's the one I buy. And today, you know, many people are avoiding wheat and gluten, but you can still get other whole grains that are gluten-free. This is brown rice pasta that I got in the local grocery store. It was sitting right in the grocery section. This is gluten-free, made from brown rice. And they also had a corn pasta next to it, so another option for those who want to go gluten-free. Next on my list is beans. Beans are a great food, and we all know how good they are. These are nutrition powerhouses. They're loaded with nutrients and fiber, good sources of protein. But the problem with beans and why people always complain is that, you know, you have to soak them and then you have to cook them for hours. So it's a long, tedious process. And most beans that you buy that are in cans are very high in sodium. And by rinsing them, you really can't wash off most of the sodium. Well, now you can get different varieties of beans that are no salt added and ready to go. So all I have to do is open these cans and use them. And there's many varieties available. And as you can see, they also come in organic. So these are Eden Foods organic, no salt added beans. And we'll be using black beans today, pinto beans, kidney beans, garbanzo beans, and these are red beans made by another company, but again, low sodium, ready to go. So beans are another great food. I keep lots of varieties of these around, and we'll be using about five different ones today. In addition to beans, one other product that I buy in the can section are no salt added tomato products. And there's several available. You can get tomato puree, and as you can see here, it says no salt added. And this is just a typical company and that I get at the local grocery store. In addition, the same company makes whole tomatoes, no salt added. You can also get tomato paste. You can get tomato sauce, no salt added. And here's another company that's regularly available in the grocery stores called Pommi, and they make strained tomatoes. We'll leave that there. And they also make these chopped tomatoes. Both of these are just pure tomatoes. There's no salt, no fat added to them. And these are actually even, sometimes I prefer these over the cans because I'll tell you, when we open these and we use them, there's nothing that tastes as close to fresh tomatoes out of the garden than these products right here. So these are excellent. So we got frozen veggies, frozen fruits, intact whole grains, whole grain pasta, canned beans, no salt, canned tomatoes. Next on my list is dried fruit, and a staple that I keep around are raisins. We'll be using these. Now, one of the issues with raisins, being it's a dried fruit and all the water's been removed, is it's pretty calorie dense. So that means it's a food that's easier to overeat on. So we'll be using this as a condiment and as a flavoring and to add a little sweetness in foods. So we don't use this as a main item in and of itself. They're easy to overeat on. And we also get them in snack boxes, and we could get regular, and again, in the regular grocery store, I was also able to get organic. And I love to keep these around because I keep a box or two in my backpack or in my shoulder bag every time I go out anywhere. So in case I ever get a little hungry and there's nothing around, I can get a box of raisins, even organically. Another dried fruit that I love to keep around are medjool dates. And these are the biggest, plumpest, sweetest, moist dates out there. And we'll be using these in a couple recipes also. And they're just delicious. And these are like the king of the date world. So another one that I keep around, pretty much available all year. And again, get these at the regular grocery store. So those are dried fruits. Next on my list is nuts and seeds. And I have almond butter right here. Let's move this for a minute. Here we have almonds, and I keep a few varieties of fresh, unsalted, raw nuts, almonds, walnuts, pecans. I also keep sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds. And I also buy them in the form of nut butters. Almond butter is my favorite, and this is a no salt added, just ground almonds. Now, like dried fruit, these are very dense in calories, very rich in calories, almost 3,000 calories a pound, which means even just a little tablespoon can have about 100 calories. So these are great. They add texture to some dishes. We'll be adding, this is tahini. Tahini is the equivalent of, it's like nut butter made from sesame seeds. So this is ground up sesame seeds, and we'll be using this in a dish or two as like a condiment and flavoring. So we use these, but I go easy on them because of their calorie density. So there's some nuts and some nut butters. Last but not least are these spice mixes that I have. You know, one of the complaints I always get is people say, well, I'm not a chef. I don't know how to spend time, you know, mixing all the right spices and getting all the right mixtures in. Well, you really don't have to know how to do that anymore because thankfully the spice companies have done it for us. Mrs. Dash is one that's very popular and regularly available, and they have all kinds of varieties. This is a table blend that I use, and to me this is just the regular seasoning. I use a little of this in most dishes just as a base flavoring. But you can also get others. Let's see, here's a pumpkin pie spice, which is a mixture of cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and ginger. And I use this in a lot of places where people might just use cinnamon, like on oatmeal or a baked apple. Adds a lot of flavor. Here's a Cajun mix. So you don't have to know all the spices that go into a Cajun dish. They're already in here, and it's salt-free. So I'll be able to use this and get my meals done very quickly. And here's a chili powder for when we do a Mexican-style dish. So all the spices that I need to get it just right are already in here. So it makes things quick and easy and simple. So that's pretty much it. Those are the 10 key essentials to a healthy kitchen and my favorite packaged products. One of the complaints I hear all the time from people is that they try to eat healthy, but it costs too much. If they go to the health food store, they think the prices are just too high, and they just don't think there's anything healthy at the regular food store. Well, everything you see here, I bought at my local grocery store and is inexpensive. And the best thing about all of this is there's no waste to any of this. I mean, normally when you prepare vegetables and some of these items, you have waste, and it takes up a lot of time and space, and that increases your food cost. When I pay for a pound of frozen vegetables, I use a pound of those vegetables. Now, I've done calculations on all of this to see what it costs me to feed myself for a day or a week. And the recipes I make, that we'll be making today with these items, come out to about $4 a person a day, which is $28 a week. And that's buying this at the local grocery store, including some versions that are pre-cooked. So if I was to go to the local supermarket warehouses and do a little bit more of it from scratch, add in just a little more time, I could get down to $3.38 a day. That was my best calculation, which is around $25 a week per person. That's $100 a week for a family of 4 if they do a little planning ahead. But even just straight out from the regular grocery store, you could figure about $4 a person, maybe a little above, but right about there depending on what's on sale that week. So you can't eat any other way for that price, no matter what you're eating. So not only is this going to be the healthiest food, and it's going to be the fastest food, it's also going to be the most inexpensive food. The next step is, after you buy these, is to come into the kitchen and go through all your cabinets and clear them out. Just get rid of all that junk and all that canned, packaged, processed stuff that's all full of salt, sugar, fat, and unhealthy items. Just give it away or get rid of it and make the commitment to start fresh and start new. You don't want any of those foods in there, because in emergency, if you don't have the right foods, you're going to go back to those, or you're going to get tempted by those. So just get rid of them. This food is inexpensive, so load up on it. All of it has a very long shelf life. All the frozen goods, all the grains, the canned beans and tomatoes, these things are shelf stable. And one of the added benefits of having this food around and keeping your cabinets well stocked is you also have an emergency backup plan. Just in case anything ever happens, you're good. I always have a good week's worth of food on hand or more, so if anything ever happens, I'm good. I have plenty of food that's shelf stable and actually easy to prepare with limited amount of heat or tools that can hold me over. Another great thing about my recipes and cooking this way is you don't need a lot of fancy equipment or expensive tools. In fact, pretty much the only tool you really need is a can opener. This is pretty much going to take care of most of all our preparation. Now we will need a few others, but not too many. So I do have a couple knives here. We will use, there may be a few things we cut, and mostly we'll be cutting open the boxes and some of the frozen packages. That's what we use these for mostly. I do have some measuring cups and I have some measuring spoons because on some of the recipes with some of the more calorie dense items like the raisins and the nut butters, we'll be measuring out so we don't overdo those. But most of the other items, the portion we're using is the package itself, which makes everything simple. No weighing, no measuring. In addition, we'll use just a typical spoon or ladle to stir things up. And the one I use is one I've had for almost 40 years. And I got this when I was a kid. One of my favorite TV shows growing up was watching The Galloping Gourmet. And he used to sell this thing called a spurtle. And it was a mixture of a spoon and a ladle. You can see it's been pretty well used. And it's been in my kitchen, and I've owned it for almost 40 years. And it's still my favorite tool. But any spoon or ladle will work just fine. And outside of that, that's pretty much the basic hand tools we'll be using. We will use a couple other items in the kitchen that are probably in everybody's kitchen. One is a blender, and I use just a regular Oster blender, one of my favorites, and inexpensive. And one of the things I love about it, which is unique to Oster than any of the other inexpensive blenders, is this part right here, and that is it has a metal drive. So if you look here and you look here, both parts of the drive shaft are solid metal, so they don't wear out. So these blenders are not only powerful, they don't wear out, and they last a long time, and they're inexpensive. So I always have an Oster in my kitchen. And next to that is just a food processor. And there's a couple things we'll be blending up. So I have a little food processor here, and so we'll be using that today. Outside of that, that's pretty much all the tools. Now, would you also like to see the pots and pans I use? Because, again, it's very simple. I do pretty much everything in about 3 pots and pans. My favorite is this is a smaller pasta pot, and we'll be using this to cook pasta in. And we'll be doing some of the sauces and stews in this. And this pretty much is most of the bulk cooking. I cook the rice in here, the pasta, the quinoa, most everything gets cooked in here. In addition, I use a little saucepan, and we'll be heating some stuff up in here. We'll be cooking a few of the dishes in here, and some of the sauces and some of the grains in here, while the rest of the food is in the bigger pot. So I have a saucepan. That's pretty much the main 2 items I use. In addition, I do have a little stainless steel saute pan, because there is a few items that we're going to do in the saute pan, and we'll be roasting some of the grains, the buckwheat we roast before we cook it. The only other pot I do keep in my kitchen when I'm making big batches, because sometimes all the recipes you see, I will double or triple, and I'll make it in this bigger pasta cooker. And that way, not only do I have enough for today and enough for later, I have enough for tomorrow and throughout the week. So not only will I get what I want out of the recipe for today, I'll have quite a bit left over that I can refrigerate and freeze. And that makes this even easier because then healthy food is always around. What we're looking at here are the basics of most of my main course entrees and dishes, which make up most of my recipes. Most all of my recipes are designed around 5 main ingredients, and what we do is vary the ingredients to change the dish. And the 5 ingredients are simply canned or packaged tomato products like these pomi. So I have whole tomatoes, I have tomato puree, I have chopped tomatoes, and I have strained tomatoes. And by changing these, I change a little bit of the consistency of the dish as the base. Next are whole grains. And I use quick cooking whole grains so it can fit into my 10-minute guideline. I like to get all my recipes made in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to use the Success quick cooking brown rice. We'll also use quinoa. And we'll use buckwheat also. And so these are very quick cooking. And by alternating the starch, we change the dish. I'll also be using potatoes quite a bit. And we can use different type of potatoes also. The third ingredient are the canned beans that I mentioned. And by changing the bean, again, we change the dish. So we'll be using kidney beans, we'll be using pinto beans, we'll be using garbanzo beans, we'll be using black beans, and we'll be using red beans. So that's the third ingredient. The fourth ingredient are the vegetables. And we'll be using different varieties and mixes. And not only will we use pre-made mixes, we'll be using mixes that I make from different individual frozen dishes just because that mix doesn't exist. So this makes it also very quick and easy to cook. And there's just a limitless variety of these that we could come up with. Then to top it off, to add flavoring to the dish, we'll be using these pre-mixed spice mixes. So again, we have a chili powder for a Mexican-style dish. We have curry powder for a Indian-style dish. We have a Cajun for a New Orleans-style dish. We have a Southwest Chipotle for, again, a Mexican-style dish. And we have an Italian herb seasoning mix for an Italian-based mix. So by just these 5 ingredients, I can create dozens upon dozens of recipes that are all different, that all cook in right about 10 minutes, that are all inexpensive, and that are all extremely nutritious and very filling. You don't even have to worry about portion control. On all these dishes that I'm going to make, you can just eat till you're comfortably full and know that you haven't overeaten. Well, we're going to prepare one of my dishes now, and fortunately I have my 2 assistants with me again, Nina and Miranda. So welcome. How's the water?
Boiling.
Okay, good. Well, the first dish we're going to make is a Mexican-style dish that I call Mexican Fiesta. And again, it's based on my 5 ingredients. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a can of tomato puree. We're going to use one of the instant brown rice bags. We're going to use some pinto beans. We're going to use a frozen vegetable mix that's a pepper onion stir fry. And in addition, we're going to use some frozen corn. Now, one other frozen vegetable I have here are chopped collards. We all know dark leafy greens are some of the most nutritious foods you can eat, but not everybody knows how to eat them or what to do with them or how to cook them. So what I do is, for almost all my dishes, I just put a little bit in. So we might put in about a 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup, which will just increase the nutritional value of the dish, which of course is already very, very nutritious. But just a little bonus to get in those dark leafy greens. So girls, are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, let's see how difficult this is. So the first thing we have to do is open the can of tomato puree. So we'll need the most important tool, which is the can opener. So who wants to do that? Okay, Nina, here you go. See if you can open the can of tomato puree. While she's doing that, I'm going to get the pot that we're going to use.
Looks like baby food.
Baby food, this is puree. Well, a lot of baby food is pureed, so that's why it might look like it. Now we're going to scrape off the top, and we're just going to pour the tomato puree in here. Make sure we get all of it. And this will be for the garbage, which is right here. Okay, next we need to put in the, next we should get the rice going. So we need the brown rice cooking. Would you like to do that?
Yes.
Okay, here you go. Take one of these bags. These bags cook in 10 minutes. So take one of these bags, and you're right, we got the water boiling. Just drop it in the pot of boiling water back here, and we'll watch that for 10 minutes. And that will come. No, just, you don't even have to open it. These are so great, you just drop it in like that.
Oh.
That's it. And now 10 minutes from now, that's done, and it's perfect brown rice.
Oh, it's easier than I thought.
Okay, so that's our starch. Next, we're going to put in some pinto beans. So would you like to do those?
Yes.
Of course, you'll have to open the can for these. So go ahead and open a can of pinto beans. And what I'm going to do is to time this recipe so we could see how long they actually do take us to cook. Great. Now before we do that, what I want to do is just drain it a little bit because there is a little water that's packed in. So we'll just drain out the juice a little bit. Okay, now go ahead and put the pinto beans in with the tomatoes. You could just dump them right in. Great. And then we're going to do the second one and just do the exact same thing. Okay, drain that off. Can you hear our rice cooking?
Mm-hmm. Bubbling.
All by itself. Okay, Ed, and make sure we get all the beans. We got them. So we'll put that off to the side. So we got the starch cooking, we got the tomatoes, we got the beans. Now we got to add in the vegetables. So here's the difficult part. We're going to have to open these bags. So you get one, and you get one, and that's why we need the knife. So be careful. We just open the bags and just dump in the whole bags. And what we're using is the Bird's Eye pepper stir-fry mix. So go ahead, be careful, watch your fingers, and just dump that right in there.
Smells good.
Look at all the colors.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes, now let's mix that around a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we got all that.
Yeah.
Let's put these over here. Now we're going to add some corn. And I'll do the corn. We're going to add in, this is a big bag. This is 2 pounds. And normally I only add about 1/4 pound. So that's about 1/4 of it. And again, we don't have to weigh and measure. We're just going to put in approximately 1/4 of the bag. And then we'll save this bag for a few other recipes. And as I mentioned, I always like to add in a little bit of leafy greens. So today I picked collards, and we're just going to add in just a small amount, maybe 1/2 cup or so. You tell me when, okay?
That's good.
That looks good? Okay, that's plenty. And now we'll move these to the side. So now we got just about everything in here, and now all we have to do is cook it up.
Wow, this will serve a lot of family.
Yes, this serves quite a few people. So what we're going to do is put it on the stove now, turn it on to...
We should add some basil.
We're going to add the spices in a few minutes because we're going to add them at the end. That way you get more of a flavor instead of during the cooking.
Got it.
Yeah, so we'll just mix this around and we'll let it cook. So we got the rice going. It's got about, let's see, we got about 5 more minutes on the rice, at which time I bet this is going to be done. So would you like to stir it?
Yes.
Now we got it on high, so be careful.
Okay.
And we'll keep an eye on the rice. Then when it's done, we're going to put in a couple spices.
So couldn't this go on pasta? It looks like it can.
Well, we made this Mexican style, so we're going to put this over rice, which is traditional Mexican style, but we're going to make one similar with a different tomato base, different beans, different vegetables, and then we're going to cook whole wheat pasta and we're going to put it over. So you see, we're just changing the tomato, changing the vegetable, changing the starch, changing the spice, but it's a similar base, and it will also cook in about
nutrients.
Pretty similar. Yes, and it'll cook in about 10 minutes, and it'll be, as you can see, it's a tremendous amount of food.
Yeah. So, do you normally cook this much, or?
Yes, and sometimes I actually cook twice this amount. But the reason I cook this much is, as you can see, if there were two of us, we could both easily get enough to eat, even leftovers for maybe later if we got hungry, or we could put some away in the freezer or the refrigerator, have tomorrow for dinner or the next day. But one of my favorite things to do, and the reasons why I like to cook so much, is because whatever we make here for dinner, as you can see, me and you, and actually all three of us, have not only enough to eat, we have enough for lunch tomorrow.
Yeah.
So every time I make one of these, whatever we make for dinner, that becomes lunch tomorrow.
Okay.
So now you don't have to worry about lunch.
Yeah.
So in 10 minutes, we've made dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, for all of us.
How we doing? Are we getting hot?
Yeah, it's steaming.
Okay, let's see how my spoon is. Let's give it a little taste. Okay. Well, it's been almost 10 minutes, so let's see how's it doing.
Good.
Nice and hot?
Yeah, it smells good.
And the rice looks done, so we're just about ready to finish it off. Let's just turn down this heat a little bit, and we're going to add the final spices, and then we'll plate it up. So the first thing we're going to do is add a little bit of garlic.
Oh, I love garlic.
You love garlic? So yeah, just mix slowly while I add in a little bit of garlic. And as I mentioned earlier, because this is Mexican style, we're going to use a little bit of chili powder. So I'm going to put in some chili powder. And, I don't have a real preset measurement. You get because everybody's got a little different taste.
Yeah.
So we're going to put in about a teaspoon or so, and then we'll try it and see how we like it. Okay, and we're going to put in a little bit of this no salt Southern Chipotle seasoning
I love Chipotle.
to add.
Oh my gosh.
And again, we put in about a teaspoon, and we're going to put in just a drop of cayenne pepper, because that's pretty hot. It's very spicy. So let's mix that up.
It's a different color now.
Yeah, see all the colors?
It's dark.
It's dark, but we got red, yellow, green. So let's give it a taste. I think we got something pretty good there. You ready to try it?
Yeah.
Well, let's bring it over there and serve it up. So, let's bring this over here. And we got the rice done. So we're going to bring the rice over here and open it up. We got the bag of rice and another one of our utensils, the knife or the scissor. We're going to open the rice. So what we had to do is drop this in the boiling water, and then we're going to open it up and add it into a bowl. We'll use this bowl right here. And look at that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Perfect, fluffy brown rice. So now what we're going to do is dish all this up. So who's going to dish it up?
Oh, just put a plastic over it?
No, we're going to eat this.
Okay.
So you ready? Let's get some bowls. And we're going to take a scoop or two of rice for each one of you. How does that look? Enough?
Yeah.
Okay, and the other one. So the bag of rice makes enough, the way we like to eat, for about 2 of us. So if there was more, we would cook more. And now we're going to serve the chili over it, the Mexican Fiesta. So, how's that? That look like enough for you?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. And you ready?
Yes.
Look good?
Yeah.
Smell good?
Yes.
Okay. How easy was it?
Really easy. I could do this.
You could do this.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get you some spoons.
Thank you.
We got 2 spoons for you right here. One for you and one for you.
Thank you. It's going to be really hot.
It's going to be a little hot. It's going to be a little spicy. Good? Mm-hmm. Good or really good?
Really good.
Really? And how about you, Nina?
Hot.
It's hot. We just took it off the stove.
Oh, flavorful and really good.
Really flavorful. Well, there you have it. 5 ingredients. We took about 10 minutes. We needed a can opener and a scissor. And we put everything in the pot and mixed it. What do you think?
Good, and I give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. All right. Okay, now we're ready to make the next dish, and this dish is going to be a pasta primavera.
What does pasta primavera mean?
Well, pasta is noodles, but primavera means spring and spring vegetables. So what pasta primavera is a pasta made with lots of fresh vegetables, and that's what we're going to do. So you ready?
Definitely.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is make a tomato sauce. And again, well, the pasta primavera is going to be based on the same 5 ingredients. So we have the tomatoes, and this time we're going to use whole tomatoes. And we're also going to use whole wheat pasta, and we're going to use penne. We're going to use kidney beans, which are pretty traditional. We're going to use a mixture of broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots.
Broccoli and cauliflower are my favorite.
Oh, great. You're going to love this. We also have a little onions for the tomato sauce. And again, we're going to put in some greens into the vegetables. And then we have our spices, so we're going to base it on basil and an Italian herb.
Basil. Me too.
All right. This is going to be good. I hope you girls leave some for me. So the first thing we're going to do is make the tomato sauce. So again, we need our kitchen tool, the can opener. So open up the can of whole tomatoes, no salt added. You don't have, yes, just pour that in there. Now notice this time we used whole tomatoes.
Oh, yeah,
so it's going to be a little chunky. And what we can do before we go and create the sauce, I'm going to take the knife and we're just going to chop the tomatoes slightly. See, right now we have whole tomatoes, and while they're cooking, they'll also get cut up, you know, they'll break up a bit, but just so we don't have giant chunks of tomatoes. So it'll end up being a chunky tomato sauce, but not too chunky, okay? So now we have the tomatoes cut up. So in addition, what we're going to put into this is some basil. You like basil?
Yes.
So should we use a little or a lot?
A lot.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
And more?
No, we can add more in later.
We can add more later. And also, we're going to use a little bit of onion in this. Instead of sauteing the onion, we're going to put a little bit of onion in. So I'll cut the onions up. This is a pound bag. We'll use about half of it to put in. Okay. And we'll save this for later. And let's get our spurtle. And the famous spurtle. And mix this up. So what we've created now is a tomato sauce that'll be the base for our pasta primavera.
Smells Italian. Yeah.
Doesn't it smell Italian? We haven't even put the garlic in yet. We're going to do that in a few minutes. Now you can make this up in large quantities and then even refrigerate this and just keep this around. But we're going to go straight forward and turn this into our pasta primavera. So now the next thing we got to do is get the pasta cooking. So we have 100% whole wheat pasta. And you're going to cook the pasta?
Sure.
Now, pasta takes about 10 to 12 minutes to cook. This one says about 10 to 12. So that just makes it into my guidelines for a 10-minute meal, right? So we've got the water boiling back there. And what we're going to do is bring the sauce back there, the pasta back there. And then we'll also finish off the sauce with the vegetables. So you girls ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. You take the veggies, you take the pasta, you take the veggies. We have a full pot here full of water boiling. So just dump the pasta in. Excellent. Great job. Just dump it all right in. Excellent. And I'm going to stir that up, and we bring it back to a boil, and we let that cook for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
During that time, we're going to get the pasta primavera going. So we have the base tomato sauce. Now what we're going to do is add in a little more garlic. You girls like garlic?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll put some fresh, this is minced garlic, which is very powerful. It tastes very similar to fresh. And next we're going to put in our veggies. So we got our mix. Yeah, go ahead and mix that up.
Okay.
Let me get our scissors so we can prepare these veggies. So we're going to put in the cauliflower. It's called a California blend. that where you girls are from?
Yeah.
Did you know that was called a California blend?
No.
Broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots is called a California blend. So we're going to put that in. And again, we're going to sneak in a few
Extra green.
extra greens. So we're going to put in about another 1/4 cup of collard greens this time. I love collard greens. Of course, we could use bok choy. We could use spinach. We could use mustard greens, whichever ones we like.
Get that iron.
Iron, calcium, everything is in them. You know, they even have omega-3s.
Oh.
Yeah, dark green leafy vegetables are really good sources of omega-3s. And you know what omega-3s are, right?
Yeah.
So that's the essential fat. That's the fat that everybody needs. So now we have our pasta primavera and sauce mixing, right? And we got our pasta cooking. So we got everything going. Would that take us about 2 or 3 minutes?
Less time than I thought.
Yeah, all we needed was a scissor and a can opener. So now let's let it cook for about 10 minutes and then we'll come back and let me turn down the heat a little bit and we'll finish this off, okay?
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, girls, it's almost 10 minutes, so the pasta's almost done and our Primavera mix is doing great.
Bubbling.
Bubbling. And I just realized we didn't put in the kidney beans, so why don't you get the kidney beans, open them up, and drain them, and then we'll mix them in, because we still have time. You almost can't mess up these recipes, so, you know, we could put the kidney beans in now, and it'll be fine. And we're also going to add in the Italian herb mix. See, and this already comes with oregano, marjoram, thyme, basil, rosemary, and sage. So we're just going to put a little of this in, and then we'll taste it. And if we need, we'll put in a little more garlic or a little more basil.
Cool. Smells so good.
It does, doesn't it? That's my favorite part of cooking. Well, it's cooking and smelling all of this.
So,
Okay, you have the kidney beans.
And they're drained.
So we're going to mix in the kidney beans and make sure we get them all in. And for that, we may need the spurtle.
The basil smells like my aunt's house.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Does she do a lot of Italian cooking?
I don't know.
How's that looking now?
Very vibrant.
Vibrant and colorful, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like the
Yeah. Yeah, it looks almost like a rainbow. So we're going to give it a taste here and see how we're doing. And then we'll finish up the pasta and then we're ready to go. What do you think?
That was fast.
That was fast. Okay. I think we're pretty close. So let's take,
Garlic.
we're going to add just a drop more garlic.
Yes.
Yes. We do everything by taste. Okay, a little more garlic. And a drop more basil.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, girls. How's that?
That's good.
Okay, so let's start moving over there. And then we'll be able to serve this up.
Cool.
Let me get the pasta off and drained so we can get the pasta ready to serve. And we're just going to pour this in a colander and then serve it. And I'll rinse it off. Okay, now let's bring the pasta primavera up. And this one smells good. And let me get the pasta all ready to go. And let's get the bowls. Let me turn off the burners. Okay, and let's get our serving spoon. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just like you said before when we were making the Mexican dish. You said this looks like it could be put over pasta. So what we did is we made it more Italian style. We used whole tomatoes,
Basil.
fresh basil, right, and we used whole wheat pasta. So we're going to make you a nice serving of pasta. And then we're going to put some of our great pasta primavera. Look at that. How does that look? Vibrant?
Yeah.
Colorful?
Yeah. Wholesome.
Wholesome. I like that word. That's what food should be.
Yeah.
So here's one. And let's get yours. So let's get you some pasta. And again, notice we've got plenty of this, so not only do we have enough for all of us to eat, we have enough for leftovers for tomorrow, Or if we're going to eat one of our other dishes we have leftovers, we could save this for even the next day. So, and now let's get you some of the Primavera mix. Oh, notice all the veggies and all the beans and the fresh tomatoes. See the chunks of tomato? Doesn't that look good?
Yeah.
Okay, give it a whirl.
It's so good. This is my favorite. I can taste the garlic.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Do we got enough garlic?
This is my favorite. Yeah.
Do we have enough basil?
Yeah. It's so good.
Well, that's pasta Primavera. And how long did that one take us?
Like less than 10 minutes.
I think it was, well, the pasta was 10, so I think it was just about 11 minutes. And was it easy?
Yeah, I can do this.
And all we needed was a can opener and a scissors. Okay, girls, now we're ready for another dish. And this one is going to be a potato cauliflower curry. It's going to be an Indian style dish, and it's one of my favorites.
Cool, I love curry.
Well, great. So let's look at the 5 ingredients again. We're going to use a can of whole tomatoes.
Can opener.
Can opener. We're going to use a can of garbanzo beans. For our starch, we're going to use potatoes in the recipe, and we're also going to use the brown rice as a side for the recipe. So we're actually using 2. For vegetables, like I said, we're going to use cauliflower, and we're also going to mix in some peas, which is
love peas.
right, and we're going to mix in a little bit of the onions. And if you remember, one of the principles, we're also going to mix in a little bit of greens. Okay, and to top it all off, we'll use a curry spice along with a little garlic. And for this one, we'll do something a little different. We're actually going to use some fresh ginger.
Cool.
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so open the can. Here you go. You get the whole tomatoes, and as soon as she's done, we'll get you with the garbanzos. Remember to drain them a little bit. Okay, excellent. So now let's pour this in.
Pass me the can opener.
And pass the can opener to your sister.
Put this on the side.
Put that on the side, and while she's opening up the garbanzo beans, we're going to slice up the whole tomatoes. So not only are they, we want them chunky, we don't want them whole. And so this way, we could do it right here in the pan. We don't even have to get a cutting board dirty. So how does that look? Chunky enough?
Yeah.
Or should we do a couple more cuts on them?
Maybe on that one.
Because remember, when they cook, they also break up a little bit. Oh, there's another whole one. So there we go. Whoops. How's our garbanzos doing?
Drained.
Drained. Okay. So now we're just going to add the garbanzos. And let's put this off to the side. We could just drop that right in the middle. Next, we're going to do the full bag of cauliflower. You got the scissors?
Yes.
There you go.
The full bag.
Oh, we love vegetables, don't we?
That's true.
Okay, so we're going to put in the whole bag of cauliflower. And let's put this, we could just put that right in that can. And now, this is a pound bag of peas, and we're going to use about half of it.
Okay.
And again, we don't have to measure exactly, none of these recipes really. So we're going to put in about a half a bag. How does that look?
Good. That's good. Because it's all healthy, so you don't have to worry about measuring, right?
And it's also low in calorie density. So in other words, big volume, low calories.
Yeah.
So you get to fill up without overeating on calories. We're going to add in a little bit of onions.
Yay.
Right? And this is now empty, so we can put it there. And again, we're also going to mix in a little bit of our dark green leafies. Right, and remember, you know, I'm using collards again, but we could use kale, we could use bok choy, mustard greens, turnip greens. Now, where'd my spurtle go? Do you see right here? It was just getting rinsed off, and now we're going to mix all this up.
So,
how's it look so far?
so pretty.
Okay, it looks pretty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, there's one thing additional we have to do with this, and that is we're going to do a little bit of cutting. Remember I said, you know, it's also good to have some good knives? But we're going to add 2 things to this that we're going to have to cut. One is the
Potatoes.
potatoes. Now, these aren't raw. These you could do these two ways to make them into the quick and easy meals. You could either bake these ahead of time.
You could cook them in there too, right?
We could dice them up, but it would take a little bit more than the 10 minutes. So we can either pre-bake these, and sometimes I'll just bake up a bunch of these and keep them around, or you can microwave them. This will microwave in about 7 minutes. So that makes my 10 minutes. Now, what we're going to do is cut this into chunks. And we're going to put that in, and we'll put the other half. Always be careful when using a knife. And we'll do the second potato.
It seems really easy, like college kids could do this, you know?
Yeah, actually college kids could do this. And in fact, you know, it's interesting you say that, because one of the reasons that I invented these recipes is when I was 35, I went back to school. I went back, to go to school to get my degrees in nutrition, and I was a single parent at the time. So not only was I a full-time student and a full-time parent, I also was doing a full-time internship in the local hospital. So there wasn't a lot of time, and we were eating healthy. And I wanted my daughter to eat healthy. So I had to come up with ways where I could come home in the evening, prepare healthy foods very quickly that were very satisfying and nourishing. And then my daughter loved them so much, she was like, well, can I take this for lunch tomorrow? And I was like, of course. And this is how the system evolved. So we came out with five or six that she would really like, and we'd make them through the week, and she always got them for lunch the next day.
Good.
Yes. Now we're going to add one fresh spice to this, because I think it really helps set this dish apart. And as I said, it is my favorite. And we're going to use some fresh ginger.
I can smell it.
Oh, can you smell it? This is the ginger that I had. And, you know, one of the easiest ways to peel ginger isn't even with a knife. Just take a spoon and the edge of the spoon, and notice how quick the skin comes. You see that?
Yeah.
So that's what I did with this piece here. So I'm just going to cut up a little bit of fresh ginger, and I like it chunky because I like the taste of it. So we'll cut this up. Watch my fingers. And we'll add this in. And now we're just about ready to get the rice on and to get the potatoes cooking and the curry going. And we'll add the curry powder once we got it cooking for a while, okay?
Okay.
So you're going to drop the rice in the boiling water, okay? And I'll bring this back and put it on the stove. You ready? Let's go. So let's put this on. We got the rice going in the boiling water, and we got the potato cauliflower curry cooking. So now we can let this sit for this will take about 10 minutes, and this will take about 8 or 10 minutes also.
So how did you learn so much about food?
That's a good question, and actually, it goes back a long ways. When I was a little kid growing up in my home, my grandparents lived in the same home, and my grandmother cooked everything from scratch. And one of my favorite things every day was to spend time in the kitchen with her, learning how to cook. So some of my earliest memories are actually sitting in the kitchen, actually on a chair because I was smaller, and she would let me do things like stir the food and smell it and taste it. And when she would work with food at the table, I would help her. And I couldn't cut things, but, you know, I'd help her wash. And as I got older, it was always a love. And if you remember with my Spurtle, as I got older, I used to just love to watch the cooking shows. So that was that's how it all started. And then later on, around 1980, when I was about 22 years old, I went to culinary school. I actually went to cooking school. I got a 2-year degree as an associate in food service management with a specialty in culinary arts. So I spent 2 years learning how to cook.
Did you cook stuff like this when you were there?
Well, at that time, I wasn't quite as
knowledgeable.
I wasn't as adamant as I am now about being healthy and a vegan. So I didn't. You know, I actually cooked all kinds of foods. In fact, you might find this a little funny, but one time after I graduated, I actually worked as a pastry chef in a fancy French restaurant in Grand Junction, Colorado. So I made all those desserts that I now tell people not to eat because they're no good for them. So, but I also worked in some vegetarian restaurants and some health food restaurants. And, you know, one of the things you asked where I learned these recipes, and I told you some of it had to do with my daughter at school. When I went to cooking school, I learned that, you know, all the sauces out there in the world, there's actually only 5 sauces. And they're called the 5 mother sauces. And all sauces are made from the 5 mother sauces. And let's see if I get it right. I think one's a red sauce, one's a white sauce, one's a blonde sauce. I think one's a fish stock, and there was one, maybe a cream base. All other sauces come out of those 5 basics. Oh. And then I was really impressed because one of the first books I had to get was a cookbook by a man named Escoffier, who's one of the greatest French chefs. And what I was first surprised is when you open the cookbook, it listed the recipes and it listed the ingredients, but no amounts.
Yeah.
So he didn't tell you the amounts, you got to experiment. And I was really impressed by that because what I learned is that cooking is really an art.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like to say, oh, you need a 1/4 teaspoon of this or a 1/2 cup of this. I want you to experiment. What I want to do is teach you basic guidelines, you know, like the 10 favorite ingredients, the 5 basics to each meal, and how to put things together. So there aren't really rules, there's guidelines. And I was really impressed by Escoffier's work and his book, and the concept that all these sauces came out of 5 basic recipes. So I started thinking, I could come up with 5 basic recipes, you know? And that's what happened when I was in college with my daughter. All that started coming together. So now I have the 5 basic ingredients. I have 5 basic recipes, which we're making. And from them, I make all kinds of dishes. Okay, well, it's just about 10 minutes, so the rice is just about done, and it looks like the curry is just about done too, nice and warm. So I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit, and we're going to spice it up a little bit. So we already have the ginger in, so we're going to add a little garlic.
Yum.
You girls love garlic, don't you? So we'll add in a little extra. Okay, and now the key ingredient is we're going to add in this curry mix. And, you know, spices, you know, if you notice in every dish, we use a spice mix. And spices are really good for you. And a lot of people don't realize that. You know, I hear a lot about antioxidants and phytochemicals. And what people don't realize, one of the richest sources of those are all your spices. And so basil and all the ones we're using, chili powder, or the ingredients in the chili powder, oregano, and curry specifically. Curry has turmeric in it, which is in Indian medicine is often used because of its curative and medicinal properties. So a lot of these spices are really good for you, so it's good to add a little bit. And I love curry, so yeah, we're going to add quite a bit of it. This is a 1/2 teaspoon, so we're putting in about 2 teaspoons. Cool. We put in the garlic, and we're going to see it change color.
Oh, yeah.
Watch how it's got to start getting a yellow tinge to it, and that's from that turmeric that we were just talking about.
Oh, my mom makes something like this with cauliflower and garbanzo beans, too.
Oh, she does? And with the turmeric?
Yeah.
Well, that's because, like I said, turmeric is known to be really good for you. So, and how's it? Let's see. I got to give it the master taste.
Okay.
And then we'll see if we got to adjust it a little bit. Oh my God. So I think we got it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put the rice over there, and so we'll let that drain. We'll bring the dish up there, and how about dishing you up 2 bowls?
Okay.
Okay, let's go. Okay, you got your bowls?
Here we are.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some of the rice. Let me get my serving spoon. And now this already has potato in it, so we got, you know, quite a bit of starch in it. So in and of itself, this is a meal. But I always like to serve it with a little rice too. So, and basmati rice especially, because that's this rice comes from India, and it just goes so well with curry dishes. So I'm going to put a little rice in, and then we're going to serve you up some potato, cauliflower, and pea curry. Okay, there you go. And you ready? So let's get you.
Always ready for food.
Always ready for food.
Because it's healthy food.
food.
Oh, yes. And how does that look?
It looks pretty.
Yeah, lots of colors. Notice all the dishes we make are very colorful. Yeah. Lots of red vegetables, yellow, green. So there's your rice. And now we're going to scoop you up some curry. Potato cauliflower curry.
Thank you.
There you go.
This looks hot.
It's a little spicy because it's my favorite, so I put quite a little bit of extra curry in it. I just saw your eyes light up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought the last one was your favorite.
I think that one's my favorite.
Oh, now this one's your favorite. What's going to happen with the next one?
I don't know.
We still got a few more to go.
I know.
Well, girls, are you ready for another dish?
Yes.
Of course. This time what we're going to do is we're going to make vegetable jambalaya.
What's jambalaya?
Jambalaya is a traditional New Orleans dish that usually includes lots of vegetables, some tomatoes, some carrots and squash and peppers, and it usually is made with ham or chicken or seafood. Yeah. But what we're going to do is make a healthy version with based on my 5 ingredients, and it'll be a vegetable jambalaya. Ooh. So you ready?
Yeah.
So as always, we have our 5 ingredients and our tools. We have a can opener and a scissors. And we have a can of whole tomatoes for the base. This time we're going to use red beans because red beans are traditional in the dish. We're going to use rice, brown rice, because that's traditional. And being there wasn't a jambalaya mix available, I got the individual vegetables that are traditionally used, and we'll just mix them in. So we have carrots, squash, zucchini, corn, and of course we'll mix in some collards this time. And collards are actually pretty traditional down there. Yeah. And we'll add in a Louisiana Cajun seasoning.
Ooh.
Now this time I couldn't get a salt-free one, but I got one that is extremely low in sodium, and so we're only going to be using a little because it's a pretty spicy one, so that will be fine. Okay, so you ready to begin?
Yeah.
Okay, well why don't you open the can of tomatoes, and why don't you get our main pot, and then as soon as she's done, you can open the can of red beans and drain them off, and we'll mix them in. Yeah, just make sure it doesn't splash. And then we'll push this off to the side. And again, we got whole tomatoes, so what are we going to do? Right, let me get the knife. And we'll cut these up so they are not completely whole. And you can see what I generally do is cut them in half.
Drain the beans?
Yes, drain the beans. And then I cut them in half again. And this way we have quarters. And while it's cooking,
it'll melt.
It breaks down some more, right? We're getting the hang of this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Pretty simple cooking. You think you could do it? At home?
Yeah.
By yourselves?
Yeah, I have time to do it.
Okay, and now let's get the spurtle. So make sure we got all those red beans out. Okay, let's put this to the side. And being we couldn't get a mix, and I couldn't get small bags, these are 1-pound bags, so we're going to use just parts of these.
Okay.
So first we're going to do some carrots, and I'm going to put in about half this bag. This is a 1-pound bag. So we put in about half a bag of carrots. Then we're going to put in another traditional item is yellow squash. So this again is a pound bag, and we'll put in about half of it.
Ooh.
Those are big, so when they start cooking down, we'll slice them up. We don't have to do it now.
I love squash.
You do?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put in a little more.
Cool.
And we're also going to put in corn, and again about a half a pound worth, which is a fourth of this bag, because this was a big bag of corn. And then this time, this is very traditional in New Orleans, and that is collards. So we're going to put in about a half a pound and finish up this bag that we've been using. All right. And being you said you love squash, remember all these recipes are adaptable. You love squash too?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to put in extra squash.
Yay.
And we're going to get this mixed up a little bit. How's it looking?
Colorful.
Colorful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this back, and we'll put this on the stove to cook. We'll put the rice in the water. This will take about 10 minutes to cook. While the rice is cooking, this will be heating up. And then we'll get everything done in about 10 minutes. You ready? So let's bring this back. Why don't you take the rice this time and put it in the hot water, and I'll take the pot back here so we can get it on the stove. Let's turn this up high. So we'll get this cooking. And we got the rice in the boiling water, so that takes about 10 minutes. And you girls like garlic?
Yes.
Okay, so we know that. So we're going to put that in the beginning so that can cook in with the veggies. So we put about a teaspoon of garlic. And we'll save the Louisiana spices. Can you get us the 3 spices there? We'll save those by here for a few minutes. And we'll let this cook. Okay, we got the Louisiana spice. I'm also going to add a little bit of thyme and a little bit of paprika, which are traditional in the dish. Whoops, we could let that go. And once these soften up, we'll cut those.
Okay.
Make them a little smaller. So what do you think so far?
Smells good.
Good.
Smells good already.
Yeah.
So, starting to boil, so we'll turn this down and let it cook. So we got red beans, we got New Orleans spices, New Orleans style vegetables. We're going to use brown rice is cooking up in a tomato base. Smell good?
Yes.
Got a little garlic in there already. So almost done. I want to tell you something else about this dish that's kind of unique. When I went back to school as a dietetic student, at the end of the year in my senior class, we had a senior project. And what we do is we create a dinner for the administrators and the faculty, and the students put it on. So I was part of the dinner, and what we decided on was to do a New Orleans night. And so I wanted to make dishes that were healthy, and I, got my class to agree. So we actually took a traditional New Orleans jambalaya and converted it into a vegetarian one. We actually had a vegetarian dinner that night, and this is actually the recipe we used that was served to the faculty and administrators for my senior dinner. And what do you think they thought of it?
They probably were like mouth-watering.
Yeah, everybody loved it.
And it probably made it 10 times better because they knew it was healthy. So.
Well, they knew it was healthy and it was tasty, and it was a full 3 or 4 course dinner.
Wow.
But this was the main item, served on brown rice, and everybody loved it. So, sometimes people think, well, nobody's going to like this food. But I often serve these dinners to parties, to guests, to gatherings.
They go back for seconds.
They go back for seconds. I even bring them to buffets and parties. And I put these dishes out and people taste them. And you know what happens?
They're all gone.
They eat all my food up. Okay, I'm going to add in the final spices. I'm adding in a little paprika in addition to the Cajun spice. And I'm going to add in a little thyme. How's it smell?
So good.
And now I'm going to add in a little bit of thyme, also very traditional, just a little bit. And then we add in the Cajun seasoning, which is pretty low in sodium.
Yeah, I noticed you don't use a lot of salt. Is there a reason for that?
Actually, we don't use any salt. Have you noticed that in any of the dishes?
Yeah, you never put salt in it at all.
And all the cans are salt-free, all the beans are salt-free, all the tomatoes are salt-free. The reason is salt is a problem. Many people take in 3, 4, 5 times the amount of salt they need in a day. Most of it's hidden in foods. So, what I do is I remove all the salt from the food, okay? Use only no salt added products. And then I add all the fresh spices and seasonings. I mean, have you noticed a problem with any of the food, the taste?
No, not at all.
Not at all. So the food still tastes good. Now this way, being there's no salt in the dish, if somebody was really missing some salt and they wanted to, what they could do at the very end, just before they ate it, is they could sprinkle a little bit, like 1/8 of a teaspoon on it, and it would give them a little bit of salty flavor.
There's no salt in it.
There's no salt hidden in it, and the salt will be on the outside, so they'll get a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a trick question.
What?
What do you think has more sodium? A serving of potato chips or a serving of bread?
Bread. Well, I was going to say potato chips, but you said it was a trick question.
Okay,
so
you caught me. You caught me. Most people say potato chips because potato chips taste
salty.
They taste real salty and bread doesn't.
Yeah.
But the average serving of the average serving of bread, a slice of bread, 80 calories, has 3 to 4 times the amount of salt than in the average serving of potato chips.
That's
Bread actually can have 400 milligrams of sodium per slice, where potato chips only have about 100. Now, here's the important part. Why? It's 3 to 4 times, yes, depending on the numbers. Why do potato chips taste saltier?
Because it's on the outside.
It's on the very outside. And where's the salt in the bread?
Cooked in.
It's cooked in. So you see what we learned? Don't cook the salt in because you can't really taste it and you end up taking in too much. Leave all the salt out. Then if you want, you could add just a little sprinkle at the end, and you won't get in a lot of salt where it'll be unhealthy, and you can improve the flavor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But have you missed the salt yet?
No, I don't even eat salt anyway.
Right. You know, and when you eat this food, and especially if you do it for a couple weeks, you'll never miss the salt. I gave salt up about 25 years ago, and I've never missed it. I don't even add any. But if somebody wanted, they just sprinkle a little bit on at the very end, about 1/8 of a teaspoon per meal, 1/4 at the most, and they'll be fine.
Oh.
Okay, girls, it's just about 10 minutes, so the rice is just about done. The jambalaya is done, and can you smell it? Mm-hmm. It smells good. So let's go over there. I'll bring the rice over to the sink. We'll rinse it off, and then we'll serve up the jambalaya. You ready?
Yeah.
You hungry? Let's go eat. And let's bring the rice over and drain this off. Okay, you got your plate, so let's get the rice. And again, we'll use what we cooked up a little earlier, but again, it was 10-minute rice. So who goes first?
I will.
Okay, so let's put, get some rice in your plate. Now this is going to be a little spicy because if you're familiar with New Orleans cooking,
I like
it is spicy, but I think you'll like it. So let's put a little rice and a little jambalaya, vegetable jambalaya. Okay, next. Okay, a little rice for you. Remember, be careful, this one is spicy.
Okay.
Doesn't even need any hot sauce.
Ooh, looks hot.
It is hot and spicy.
Thank you.
It's a little hot, so you might want to cool it down a little bit before you eat it.
New favorite. I've never tasted anything like this.
Yes, it's unique. If you're not used to New Orleans jambalaya cooking, it's a little different, right? But is it good?
Yeah. The squash is my favorite.
The squash. You like the squash? The chunks of squash in it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Squash is also very healthy. All these green and yellow vegetables and the red ones and orange ones are just full of so many nutrients that you need. And don't they taste good this way?
Of course.
So many people say they don't like to eat their veggies. We're eating like 1.5 pounds of veggies in each one of these meals, sometimes 2 pounds of veggies.
Whoa.
That's just the veggies. If you count in the tomatoes, we're adding in a 28-ounce can.
Yeah.
That's almost 2 pounds.
Holy
so
moly.
each meal has 3 to 4 pounds of veggies in it. Is that unbelievable?
That's really good for you.
Is that a good way to eat your veggies?
Definitely.
I think Mom will be proud. Okay, girls, are you ready for another dish?
Yeah.
Okay, this time we're going to do what I call longevity soup, which is a form of a vegetable soup. So what we're going to do is get our 5 ingredients, right? So we got a can of tomatoes.
Beans.
We got a can of beans. Yeah, black beans. We've done garbanzo.
And red
we've used kidney. We've used red. And we've used pinot.
Yeah.
So let's use a different one.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? Oh, you love black bean. Okay, we're also going to use the instant rice, and we're going to do it a little different this time, but we'll be using the brown rice.
Okay.
For vegetables, we're actually going to use a soup mix.
Ooh.
So, you know, and this already includes some potatoes in it, and some tomatoes, and some okra. So it's a real great mix of lots of vegetables. We're also going to mix in some mixed vegetables, and of course, we're going to mix in some greens. Okay, so you ready to begin?
Yeah.
Well, we need our two tools, which are scissors and
can opener.
And we are going to use the knife again because I am going to cut up a little bit of ginger.
Okay.
So why don't you start on the can, okay? And why don't you start on the veggies? So start with the veggie soup mix.
So is all of this going in here?
Yeah, that's how we usually use portion here. It's either the whole bag or half the bag.
Okay.
So that's easy. Yeah, just dump the whole bag in.
Ooh.
Doesn't that look good?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to save this. We'll put this in the can.
So use half.
And we're going to use about half of that. That's correct.
Should we open up the black beans?
Yep, open up the black beans and then we're going to drain them. They're just about half, so go easy on that. Let's pinch it off at about half.
That's good.
That's good. So let's close that up. And we're only going to use about a quarter of that bag.
This quarter of this?
A quarter of this.
Okay.
Okay. Got it. Let me pinch off about a quarter here, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll dump in about a quarter of these veggies. Look good?
Mm-hmm. So this is a soup, right?
This is going to be a soup, and let me show you what we're going to do differently. First, I want to chop up the tomatoes, right? Because they're whole, and we like them about quarter or thirds. So I'll go through and make sure I get all the tomatoes chopped.
Beans, Foreman?
Sure, just dump them right in.
Okay.
Make sure you get them all. Let's check. If we need, we'll use the
Handy dandy.
The handy dandy spurtle, right? So let's get all those black beans in. Now we actually need this can for a minute. So we got all those chopped up, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the can. And right, take that out. Be careful with your fingers.
There's this in the can.
That's okay. That's just the lid, and I'll get that out. Let's be careful. Now what I want you to do is fill this up to the top with water. Okay? While she's doing that, we're going to mix this up, and I'm going to bring over the cutting board, and we're going to put some fresh ginger in this.
Okay.
And we're actually going to put quite a bit. Did you like the ginger?
Yes.
You like ginger? Okay. So we're going to put it in good chunks too.
So all the way to the top?
Yeah, fill it up all the way to the top.
Does it matter if it's cold or hot? Or?
No, it doesn't matter because we're going to heat it up.
You can use this water.
Got that?
Yeah.
There? Okay. Now be careful. Bring that over and dump that in.
Oh, so now...
See how it's becoming a soup? In all the others, all we did was add the can of tomatoes, but on this one, we're also adding an extra can of...
Water.
Right. So now I chop up all the ginger, and
this is going to be good broth.
This is actually the simplest, easiest one to make, and the reason is everything goes in here at once, because watch what we're going to do with the rice.
Oh.
We're actually going to take the rice and dump it in there uncooked.
Oh, and it'll cook.
It'll cook while the soup's cooking, and what I do is I put in a half a bag of rice. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't have to measure exactly, but I put in about a half a bag of rice. Look, about a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because of that, we're going to add in a little more water because the rice is going to absorb some.
Oh, yeah.
So can you get the can and fill it up about halfway again?
Mix this around, right?
Yeah, mix that around. How's that looking?
Good.
Oh, yeah. See, now all we have to do is put this on the stove.
And let it sit.
And let it cook.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, now we got another half a can of water. Okay. And the spices we're going to use are our basics, right? You girls like garlic?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to add in a little bit of garlic. And we're going to use one we haven't used yet that I tell you I like to use as a base. And that's the Mrs. Dash table blend. So we're going to open this up and we'll put in a little bit of that. Probably about a teaspoon or two.
That smells strong. Yeah.
Yeah, very flavorful. Okay, everybody see this? So see all the colors and everything and the rice, and we got a little bit of potatoes from the vegetables. What we're going to do is just put this on the stove, let it go for
10 minutes.
10 minutes, and we're going to have a meal. Soup that's a meal. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. And go this way so we get the high, and we'll let this cook. So how easy was that so far?
This is really easy. Yeah.
It's really easy. And I want to tell you why I call it longevity soup. The reason is this soup is one of the most nutritious out of all of the dishes we made.
Yeah.
They're all real nutritious, but this one is really nutritious. It's got lots of mixed vegetables in it. We put 2 different types of mixes. We put the dark green leafies in. We've got rice. We've got a little bit of potatoes. We've got black beans. We could use any beans. But not only that, we've made it into a soup. And soups are more filling than the other dishes. And you know why soup's more filling?
Because it's water.
Because it's got more water, and the water's kind of cooked into the dish.
So yeah, you have nutrition in the water too.
Right. So it's more like broth.
Yeah.
See, have you ever been really hungry and you just drink a glass of water? Does that fill you up very long?
No.
No. Water, drinking by itself, leaves your stomach in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help fill you up. But when water is part of the food, like fresh fruits and veggies that are full of water, you know, fruits and veggies are about 90% water. And when we make it into a soup and we cook in the extra water, it becomes really filling.
Oh.
So this is really filling and low in calories and high in nutrients. And they've done experiments in many animals, and they've also done them in humans now and in non-human primates. And what they find out is if you eat just a little bit less and get all your nutrients in, you actually live a little bit longer.
Whoa.
So because this is much more filling as a soup,
Long life.
it's easier to not overeat on this. I mean, it's really difficult to overeat on any of the dishes we make because it's just full of vegetables, right? And beans and starches. But this one is much more what we call dilute. So it's much more filling for less calories. So we can make a full pot of this and just eat this all day. And if we, I think it takes 2 batches of this soup, gives you all the calories you need for the day, all the nutrients for the day, and you won't overeat.
Wow.
So that's why I call it longevity soup. And sometimes I make up a double batch of this, you know, in the big pasta pot.
Whoa.
Just double the amount of everything. And then I cook it down in 10 minutes. And then throughout the day, whenever I'm hungry, you know what I do?
Just eat the soup.
Just go get a big bowl or 2. And then when I'm hungry again, you know what I do?
Go get some
Go
more.
get another bowl of soup. And by the end of the day, I know that not only have I gotten in all the nutrients I need, I haven't overeaten on calories.
Yeah.
So that's why I love this soup. But I also mix it in with all the other dishes. So, but that's why I call it longevity soup, based on the research that shows if you eat just a little, not, you know, I don't want anybody starving, but if you eat just a little bit less, maintain a healthy weight, but at a lower end, that you may actually live a little bit longer. So, yeah, that's why I call it longevity soup. So, well, this will cook for about 8 more minutes, and at that time, the rice will be done, and it'll be done, and you girls ready to taste another one?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. Athletes, actually, many athletes eat very high carb diets because they know they perform better. In fact, there's a group of Indians live down in Mexico in the Sierra Madres. They're called the Tarahumara Indians. And they're known as some of the greatest long distance runners there are.
Wow.
And they eat a bunch of
They eat food just like this.
rice.
You know,
I think not.
I think not. They actually went down there and studied them.
Wow.
And they found out that 90% of their calories come from 2 foods.
Starch.
Corn and beans.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
And-
my 2 favorite things put together.
Yeah, I
Corn
only
and
have corn and beans together.
Yeah. And they're some of the greatest runners. Unbelievable. And another group that's renowned for their running ability are the Kenyans, the Kenyan runners. They also eat a diet very similar to this. Very low in fat, very high in carbohydrates like root vegetables and starchy vegetables like we're doing, other vegetables, fruits, and they're some of the best runners. In fact, it's hard to beat them. You know, they win the Olympics, they win all the long distance events, and they eat simple foods like this. Smell good?
Yeah.
Well, we're almost done. We got about, I'd say about another 2 minutes or so. You see the little potatoes and the peas and corn, and the black beans look good. That was a great choice you made. Okay, girls, it's been just about 10 minutes and the soup looks done.
Yeah.
So let's bring it over there and serve some up. So you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna add some basil in mine.
You want basil?
Garlic.
Well, you know, what we did is we made the base with a little bit of spice.
Yeah.
And then you can do that. You can adjust this any way you want. So you'll do yours with basil and you'll do yours with?
Garlic.
Sounds great. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go serve some up.
It's hot.
Can you see all the okra and all the colors and all the veggies?
Yeah.
Okay, there's just a little for you to try.
Thank you.
Now hold your spoon and put a little basil in it. Be careful with the basil. I think we took the top off.
Yeah. You can use your spoon.
So how's that look for you?
Good.
Go easy with the garlic too. The top is off.
Whoops. Do you need a little basil and garlic? Sure. Just a little. This is really good. Really flavorful. Yeah. Hot. Just hot.
Oh yeah, they're all hot. And let it cool down a little, but tastes good? Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the vegetables and all the beans and everything gets to cook together. And by cooking the rice in it, that also gets to add more flavor to it. How's the soup?
Really good. And I think like even tomorrow, since you'll have some for lunch, obviously, the flavors will be even better because they'll be sitting and mixing around. So then the next day you'll enjoy it even more.
That's right. Remember, everything we make for dinner can be used for lunch the next day. And you made a good point. They actually taste better the next day because all the flavors have got to sit and kind of marinate together.
It'll be like thicker.
It'll be, yes, the soup will be a little thicker, but the flavors will be dispersed throughout a little better, and they actually taste a little better because all these we did in just 10 minutes. There's a lot of variations on every one of these. Like for instance, instead of brown rice, if we used whole wheat pasta in this one, and maybe instead of black beans we used kidney beans, we would have had a minestrone. Very good. So these are just the basics. And so actually we now have completed all 5 of the basic core recipes, all based on the same 5 ingredients. All start out with a can of tomato products, a can of beans, a starch, a variation of frozen vegetables, and a variation on a spice mix. And by varying each one of those ingredients slightly, or all of them, varying all of them together, we've come up with longevity soup, we've come up with potato curry, right? A curried potato and cauliflower. We came up with a Mexican Fiesta. We came up with a pasta Primavera, and we came up with a vegetable Jambalaya. All different, all unique, all flavorful.
All taste good.
All taste good.
All healthy.
All healthy. We made them all in
10 minutes.
10 minutes with how many tools?
2 or 3.
2. And the cost of these, if you go to your local grocery store, you could basically feed a person for around $4.25 a day. And if you do a little bit more bulk cooking and you go to the shopping warehouses that we're all familiar with, you could get this down to under $3.50 a day per person. Get all your nutrients, simple, inexpensive, easy, no waste, virtually no preparation. How much did it take? How much time do you think we spent preparing each dish before we cooked it for 10 minutes?
2 minutes, if that. Yeah. Probably like 1 minute.
3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes. So with preparation, with cooking, we did them all under 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that incredible?
Yeah. This is way easier than driving all the way to a fast food restaurant.
That's right. This is easier than going to a fast food restaurant and ordering. It's less expensive. It's healthier. It's more nutritious. It's easier. It's simpler. This is really the best fast food.
And it tastes great.
And it tastes great. That's why we call it Chef Novick's Fast Food. What we're going to make now is a quick and easy hummus. People love hummus. Its base is garbanzo beans, but many of them are full of olive oil and loaded with tahini, which makes them really high in fat and very high in calories. So what we're going to do is make a nice low-fat version Many of the low-fat versions completely leave out all the olive oil and all the tahini, so then they don't quite have the same texture. So what I've done is created one that uses just a little bit of tahini to give it texture, but yet still stays lower in fat and lower in calories. So the first thing we're going to do it quick and simple is use a can of no salt added garbanzo beans. And all I'm going to do is open them up, drain out the liquid, and then I'm going to put most of the can into this little food processor, about 2/3 to 3/4, and I'm going to give it a little whirl. Okay, after we puree up some of the garbanzo beans, we're then going to take a 1/4 cup measuring spoon, and I'm going to put in a 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice. And what I use for convenience is this 100% pure lemon juice that's just lemon juice concentrate and water. So I'm going to take about a 1/4 cup and I'm going to mix it in. And I'm also going to take a 1/4 cup of water and mix that in. And then I'm going to puree this some more so it's nice and smooth. And you can see how smooth it's getting now. And now for a little bit of texture, I'm going to use some fresh tahini, which is sesame seed butter, and I'm going to use about a tablespoon. So this is a teaspoon, so I'll use 3 of these. 1, 2, and this is going to add some nice texture and body to it without adding in too many calories or too much fat. So now we just puree that all together, and we can see it's getting a little smoother and thicker. Now for flavor, what I'm going to do is add in some garlic. And you could use either fresh cloves or some, I use just some minced garlic, and the equivalent of about 2 cloves. And also, you could add in pretty much any flavoring you want. What I like to do is add in a little roast red chili peppers to add a little spice to it. Then I just puree it back up again. And then before I'm ready to serve it, I take the remaining 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup that I left in the can, and I add that back in, and I puree it, but I leave it a little chunkier. So this way, the hummus has some chunkiness to it also. And that's it. So now we just take this off, and I'll put it in this bowl right here. Let's make some room for it. And you can serve this with some fresh sliced vegetables or some whole grain pita bread, some whole grain crackers that are low fat and low salt. And I have an example of some here. These are called Mary's crackers. And so that's it. So now that I have my assistants with me, why don't you give the hummus a try?
Okay.
It's good. And if you like it a little more garlicky, you could add in more garlic. If you like it a little more spicier, you could add in some more red pepper. Or if you want, you could add in some basil. Right. So that's up to you, but this is the base of it. And as you can see, it took like 3 minutes to make. Lower in fat, rich in garbanzo beans, which are really good for you. And of course, you could do, use vegetables too, or raw vegetables, or... So it also makes a good salad dressing too.
Yeah.
You could actually put this over salad and have it as a dressing. The next item I'm going to make, this item is a tahini dressing. And people often ask what you use for salad dressing, what you put on food. A lot of things out there are high in salt, sugar, fat, saturated fat. So this is a simple dressing I made that uses tahini as a base. And yes, tahini is high in fat and calories, but we thin it out and we use it as a dressing or a condiment. And it's so simple to make. All I do is take fresh tahini, and I take about, you can do this in any amount, but I do it a quarter cup at a time. I take a quarter cup of tahini, and you could do this in a food processor, a blender, or you could even do it in just a bowl and mix it together with a fork. Then the key is an equal amount of lemon juice. So I'll be putting in 1/4 cup of lemon juice and equal amount of water. So I'll be putting in 1/4 cup of water. So no matter what you start with, whether it's quarter cup, half a cup, or a cup, you can make it in any amount. It's just that you keep the amounts equal. So let's just put it together, and then we just whip it up. And you'll notice it also starts to change color. It gets a very light, a very white color instead of the off-white that the tahini is. There it goes. You can see it changing. That's where the water and the lemon and the tahini are all blending. So when I open it up, you'll see the difference. What used to be an off-white, almost grayish, has now become much whiter. And for flavor, one of the things I like to do, you could add in a little mustard, make a mustard tahini dressing. You could add in a little dill. So I have some dill here, and I'll put some dill in it. You can make a dill dressing. It's just whichever you prefer. You could add some spice to this. You could add some garlic. So here's some dill. We'll whiz it up. We'll puree it up a little further. And that's it. So what I'm going to do now is get this out, put it in a little bowl. And you can use this as a salad dressing. Another thing I like to do, because many of my basic recipes are tomato-based, and not everybody likes tomatoes. So I also use this as a dressing. I'll make dishes where I'll take baked potatoes, just cook up 1 or 2 big baked potatoes, steam up some fresh kale and broccoli and cauliflower, put it in the bowl, and I'll drizzle this over it. And it just makes a wonderful dressing for the potato and the kale. I also do that. Many of the dishes we made use rice and some veggies. I've taken quinoa and used quinoa as the base, put some fresh Italian-style vegetables or Mediterranean-style vegetables over it, and then I'll drizzle this over it, and I have a Mediterranean quinoa vegetable dish. Now here, what I do is have some fresh carrots, because this also makes a great dip. So let's bring in my 2 assistants and see how they like this fresh tahini dressing. So this is fresh tahini dressing, so give it a taste.
Yeah, it looks like ranch, but probably way better.
Well, give it a try. Tastes good? Yeah, nice and light, a little creamy. Yeah, goes great on salads, goes great on potatoes, it goes great on vegetables. Carrots. It's great as a dip. So, what do you think?
Good.
All right, thumbs up. The next item I'm going to make is a smoothie, and it's one of my favorite foods to make. It tastes great. It has so many uses. I'm going to make a banana mixed berry mango smoothie. And not only can this be used as a breakfast, it can be used as a snack. It can be used as a dessert. It's just wonderful. And all we need, it's very simple. We're going to take a blender. We're going to put in about 8 ounces of water. Now, a lot of smoothie recipes call for dairy milk or soy milk or rice milk, which have lots of calories, sometimes added sugar. So I just use water. And to sweeten this a little bit, what I do is I take fresh medjool dates, and I take about 2 of them, and I de-pit them, and I put the dates in the water. Just simply like that. Then I take fresh bananas, and I like them really ripe, and that's where they're starting to get the brown spots all over them, because that's when they're at their sweetest. So we're just going to take a banana. We'll start out with one, and we'll put it in. And when I get to this stage, what I do is just turn the blender on and let that blend for a minute. Now we've got the dates blended up with the bananas. The next thing I do is take fresh ground flaxseed, and this is just a whole ground flaxseed meal, and I add about 1 tablespoon. Flaxseed is a very rich source of omega-3s and fibers, so it's an excellent food to add a little bit if you want each day. There's about 1 tablespoon right there. And in addition, the next item I'm going to add is some mixed frozen berries. And this is a mixture of strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries. And I'm going to start out with about a cup's worth. Sometimes I just, estimate how much I'm putting in. And now that I have all these in here, we're going to blend it up again for about a minute. And it's starting to mix. A lot of smoothie recipes add ice to thicken it up, but that dilutes out the smoothies. So this could be a little thicker, so I'm going to add in a few more berries to it. And we're going to give it a whirl just for another minute, and then it'll be done. By using the frozen fruit acts as a thickener, and it doesn't dilute it. It actually makes it more nutrient dense and more flavorful. And there we have it. Now sometimes I also like to add a little bit of mango, and we're in mango season right now, so I have some fresh mangoes. And I've sliced off a piece of mango, and I'm just going to slice it into little quarters here. And just flip it and slice the mangoes in. And give it one more whirl, and then we'll be done. So now we'll see it has a great consistency. It's very nutrient rich. And what we're going to have to do is bring my assistants in, the girls, and see how they love these. So girls, we have a fresh banana, mixed berry, mango, date smoothie.
It is so good. It's the best smoothie I've ever had. Seriously, it really is.
Really good, really simple to make, takes 2 minutes. And another great thing is depending on how you like it, like with many of my recipes, you could vary this based on what you like. Like if you like pineapple, you could have added pineapple instead of mango. If you like just strawberries, then you could buy a bag of just strawberries and use strawberries. So this is up to you. And some people don't even like banana, so you could just use mango and the berries instead. The banana gives it a nice consistency though, doesn't it? Is it sweet?
Yeah.
And we haven't added any sugars other than those that occur naturally in the banana, the berries, the mango, and the dates.
Yeah. And if you were to freeze it, it'd be like sorbet or a popsicle.
Correct.
It already tastes like sorbet.
You can freeze this, and it's wonderful as a dessert. Or if we just add in a little more frozen fruit and whirl it up again, it's going to be much thicker, like a dessert, like a frozen dessert. So, and if you want it thinner, you just use a little less frozen berries. So it's all in your hands.
Perfect the way it is. It's so good.
I'm glad you love it. The next item I'm going to make is what I call an almond date surprise. And it's just so simple and so easy, and it's just so delicious. And this could be a dessert, a snack, And let me just show you how easy it is. You only need 2 ingredients. One is medjool dates, and always get the medjool. They're the biggest, juiciest, sweetest, plumpest dates. And some fresh almond butter, and I use the unsalted raw almond butter. Now what I've done here is I've already poured out some of the almond butter because sometimes it separates. So I poured it into this dish and I've mixed it together so it's nice and thick. And what I'm going to do is take out some dates, and all I do is split them in half down the middle and de-pit them. You have to be careful. There is a pit in the dates, and I open them up. And we'll do one more. So we just split the date down the middle. Sometimes a little tough. Open it up. Take the pit out. Then we open up the mixed up almond butter, and we use a teaspoon. And we get a nice teaspoon of the nice thick almond butter, and we put it in the center of the date, just like that. And we get a second one. And there we go. Then, to finish this off, that's all there is, but to finish it off and garnish it, we take some almonds. I've split these in half, and I top it with a half an almond, just like this. And I've made up a few of these already just beforehand, and I'll add these to the plate. And there we go. These are almond date surprises. Now they are a little dense in calories. We have dried fruit and nut butter, so be careful with these and don't overdo them. But these are delicious snack, dessert, or a little treat every now and then. You just put the whole thing in your mouth. You don't
So good. It's so creamy.
Yes. The almond butter, if you pour it out, you know, so you mix it all together, it gets very creamy, and then you just put it in right in the middle of the date. And if you actually refrigerate the dates and the almond butter, they both get really thick, and you could actually shape these like into hearts. Yeah, 2 ingredients, and it took me a minute to make them. Can't get any comments out of them. They're too busy eating them. This item I call chocolate berry parfait, and it's not made with real chocolate, but it's made with real cocoa powder, and you just won't believe how simple, easy, and great it tastes. And unlike most chocolates that end up adding some type of fat, usually saturated fat, and sugar and dairy, we're going to use fruit as the sweetener. So here's how it goes. I start out with a mango, and this is a very ripe mango. And what I'm going to do is slice off the ends of the mango and get the meat out of the ends. And then I'm going to put this mango in the little food processor that I have. And we'll just scrape these pieces off. Once I've cut them, they come off very easy. And this one's sticking a little. So we get off all the mango. There we go. And then we do this end. Oh, this mango is going to be good. Nice and sweet and juicy. Let's get all this off. Then what I do is I take this mango and I put it in the food processor. And we'll start pureeing this up just a little bit. Okay, next, I'm going to get the rest of as much of the mango off of this as I can. So I'm going to make a little cut in it, and then I'm going to peel the skin off along the sides. Just peel the skin right off like that. There we go. And then I'm just going to try and get off some more mango to add into this. So right along the pit, there's a nice white pit in the center that's kind of thin. So I'm slicing along the pit to get off all the mango meat that I can. And you see it's also getting a little juicy. So now I've gotten off most all of it off this pit. And I'm going to add this into the food processor. And then we're going to whiz this all together. And I want to get in as much of the juice as I can too. That's going to help sweeten this up. So back on with the lid, and we're going to put this on high. Almost. I think we got a little piece of skin there. And now what we're going to do is take pure cocoa powder. And I have a Hershey's cocoa here. You could use any one. The one thing you want to watch for is to make sure that the only ingredient is cocoa and that it isn't Dutch processed. The Dutch processing uses an alkali that kills the antioxidants and the beneficial phytochemicals. So you just want pure cocoa. And what I'm going to do is put in about a tablespoon or two of the pure cocoa powder. Now, as we know, cocoa is pretty bitter, but mixed in with the mango, we're going to get the chocolate flavor, and the mango is going to sweeten it up. So, that's starting to look good. Let me give it a little taste. Just a little more cocoa. Okay, so now we got a little chocolate sticking to the sides. So let's get that mixed around. It's a little thick. So I'm going to add a little water just to thin it out. There we go. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take a dessert glass or parfait glass, and I'm going to put some strawberries in it. And some fresh blueberries. Whoops, there's two that got away. Then I'm going to take some of our cocoa and I'm going to spoon it over. Then I'm going to take a few more strawberries and a few more blueberries. Whoops, another one got away. And some more cocoa, some more mango chocolate, and we're going to top that off with another strawberry or two for decoration, and a couple blueberries. And there you have it, chocolate mango berry parfait. Okay, girls, so here is a mango chocolate berry parfait. Okay, I guess we're not going to use a spoon. Tastes like chocolate?
Can we have our own?
Well, I only made one, but I'll tell you what else we could do with this. Once we've made this chocolate, it also makes a wonderful dip. So I'm going to put some here on the side of a plate. And let's take out some fresh fruit. I have another ripe banana right here. So let's take out a banana and let's make some slices out of the banana. Put them on the plate, and then you'll have like a little banana chocolate fondue that you... Okay, girls? And also, we just had some dates, so we can try some of those fresh Medjool dates. So what do you girls think?
They're so good.
The dish we're going to make now is my morning oatmeal, and it's just one of the simplest, easiest, most nutritious, delicious oatmeals there are. And everybody says they don't have time to eat breakfast or to stop and make a healthy breakfast. This one takes about 3 to 5 minutes from start to end, and it's very easy and simple to make. So let's do it. What we start out with is just regular oats, could be old-fashioned or quick oats. And as I mentioned earlier, if you prefer organic, that's easy to get too. We take 1/4 cup of the oats and put it into this small saucepan. Then we add in twice the amount of water that we added of the oats. So I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of water. In addition, I'm going to add in a little bit of raisins for sweetness. So I add in about a tablespoon. So we're going to add that in. tablespoon of raisins, which will add a little natural sweetness. You could also use some of those medjool dates that I've used in some recipes. Then we're going to add in a little bit of flaxseed, about a tablespoon. So that's 3 teaspoons. Whoops, that one's a little heavy. And we're going to put this on the stove to cook, but before we do, we're going to add in some of the mixed frozen berries. Now, normally I keep these frozen to use in the smoothies and for desserts, but you can, every now and then I'll put one in the refrigerator because then it's thawed out and I could just simply and easily mix it in to the oatmeal without having to wait. So I'm putting in just about a half a cup. And now I'm going to put this on the stove right over here. And I'm going to start cooking this up. And as you'll see, in about 3 minutes, this will be done. And then we'll add just a little bit of spice to it. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes. The oatmeal has come to a boil. And I've let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes. And it's all done. So what I'm going to do now is transfer it over to the bowl. And top it off with a little bit of cinnamon, or a lot of people use cinnamon. Cinnamon's another spice that's very healthy. But what I like to use is this pumpkin pie spice, because this not only has cinnamon, it also has ginger, cloves, and nutmeg, so it adds a little more flavor to it. This also goes great on sweet potatoes. So now let's add a little bit of the pumpkin pie spice to the oatmeal. And there we go. 3 minutes, a hearty, nutritious, satisfying, filling, low-cost, healthy meal in 3 minutes. Okay, here's the girls, so let's see how they like the morning oatmeal. Go ahead.
It smells like apple pie.
Well, that's because I used that pie spice on it. So go ahead and dig in and try it.
It's really good. It's good.
What do you think?
It's so good. I would have never thought of putting the raisins on. Like before you cook it, I always do it after.
Well, the reason I put the raisins in it while it's cooking is that helps make it sweeter. So while the raisins are cooking, they plump up and they help sweeten the oatmeal. And that's why this is so much, tastes a little bit sweeter, and I don't have to add any sugar or maple syrup or brown sugar.
Maple syrup, but
And on this one?
I don't need to.
You don't need to. It's sweet as it is. And that's why I also cook the fruit in. And when you let the fruit thaw, you get a little bit of juice at the bottom. So that gets mixed in too and adds to the sweetness and the flavor. So what do you think?
It's really good.
Really good.